I am not the moderator for this evening, but there seems to be a little bit of confusion with our proper moderator, Rabbi Sandra Lawson, and I want to kick us off because I noticed that we were all just hanging out here. I want to begin by giving you a chance to introduce yourself for those that do not know who you are. And if you are represented by a couple of people, it looks like we have both 18 Doors members here. You can go consecutively. And Karen and Elaine, if you can hop off as well, I want to have space for that when Sandra does join us, she can get in here. This is a max of 9 people. We only want our panelists sharing their screen and participating in the conversation. Feel free to drop a question into the chat. I mentioned Rabbi Malka, Packer, and Mike first, so we will have 18 Doors introduce. And I want to, let's start with Rabbi Packer-Monroe, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rabbi Malka Packer-Monroe, and grateful to be here with all of you here today. For those of you who don't know what 18 Doors is, we are a nonprofit Jewish organization that supports people in interfaith families and relationships. So I lead lots of workshops and programming locally for people in interfaith families and relationships. And I also provide trainings for local Jewish organizations to be more radically welcoming and inclusive. And pass it off to Mike.
Hi, everybody. Sorry about being late. I was in this weird universe trying to find my place. Anyway, my name is Rabbi Sandra, and I'm the Director of Racial Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and one of your hosts for this evening. And I think Mike had his hand raised. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mike Novisky. I'm also with 18 Doors. I am based in our national office up in Boston. I'm just glad to be here participating and listening tonight.
Are we picking people or what?
I can popcorn if that
Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
Yeah, I'll popcorn it over to Elana.
I knew that was coming. Good evening. My name is Elana Pollack Halfacre, and I'm here tonight representing Honeymoon Israel. For those who are not familiar with Honeymoon Israel, our mission is to provide immersive trips to Israel for locally based couples, cohorts of couples, with a focus on building community within bigger Jewish communities. Our goal is to make young couples of all backgrounds feel welcome within the Jewish community and inspire them to incorporate Jewish values and traditions in ways that feel the most comfortable for them. So very happy to be here and speaking with all of these wonderful colleagues. Oh, popcorn to Victoria.
What did I just do?
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here. My name is Victoria Rags. I am the co-founder and executive director of Atlanta Jews of Color Council. We are a nonprofit organization with the mission of advancing racial equity, affirmation, and empowerment across the South. We were founded with a mission to provide local Jews of color agency to be able to tell their own narrative and be able to just have some sort of voice in their own programming and community. So I will popcorn it off to Jeffrey.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jeffrey here in Los Angeles. I'm not sure exactly how I got here, but I'm so happy to be here with all of you. I'm feeling connected to Atlanta. I'm a health psychologist and leadership coach, and I do work in medical education, helping medical school leaders think and rethink about how the legacy of racism impacts medical education, how they work together, how they spend their money, how they accept and build their teams. I also work with a team from San Francisco. Pre-COVID, we were leading facilitated tours of healthcare leaders through Alabama, from Birmingham to Selma to Montgomery, really immersing ourselves, using your word, Elana, immersive understanding about the terrible legacy of racism and mass incarceration, poverty, and health inequities, housing injustice, and really understanding the impacts on people, health, healthcare systems, and inviting them to think not only about their own role in white supremacy, but also to rethink how they lead their healthcare organizations. So happy to be here. And I will popcorn it. I got here late, so I don't know who's left. Shake Angel, you're on.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Shakir Angel. I'm the Regional Director for the Israeli American Council, IAC chapter of Atlanta. The mission of the IAC has three basic pillars. One is to build and unite an Israeli American community, to strengthen the Jewish and Israeli identity, and to bond between the people of Israel and people of the United States. Specifically here in Atlanta, we have all of our program running. We have program for all ages, starting 4 and going up. We see holistic approach. Our programming has a holistic approach of reaching multiple people from the same families for different programming. So we do immersive program both for Hebrew education, Israel, love for Israel. We have programming on campuses and for teens for fighting BDS and anti-Semitic and being more educated and aware. Leadership program for adults and large-scale events, Yom Ha'atzmaut party, Purim, etc., etc. And it's recorded, so I'm just going to say thank you to Russell, that is not here right now, but for having us here and orchestrating this amazing event.
Great. And Malka, it's always good to see you. It's like a reconstructionist like renewal program. Not renewal, but anyway, it's late for me.
It's good
So,
to see you.
and Ellen, oh my
Hi.
God.
Hi there.
And now my dogs are barking. Anyway, so I have some questions. And I'm just going to because I'm a little flustered. I know we're short on time.
You want Amanda to introduce herself as well?
Oh, yes. Go ahead. Sorry about that, Amanda.
No worries. And I was having a little technology trouble. So I'm Amanda Lacquier. I'm the Chief Marketing and Development Officer at Jewish Family and Career Services. We are a social service agency helping people and individuals and families in the Atlanta community transform their lives and live to their fullest. We have a lot of different services, ranging from older adult services, career counseling, dentistry, services for mental health. And we have programs for the intellectual and development disability community. We have 7 group houses and also a day program. So thank you also for having us here tonight. We're very excited to be part of this really important conversation.
You're muted, Sandra. Rabbi Lawson. Sorry.
Hi, Ellen. Did you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, yes. And am I muted? No. Hi, everybody. My name is Ellen Mazer, and I am the grant writer for the Atlanta Jewish Film Festival. And allow me to just give it a plug because it's coming very soon, the 16th of February through the 27th. It's 100% virtual, so you don't have to schlep anywhere to watch these amazing films. There's over 50 films plus a number of shorts. And in talking about the JEDI values, what I'd like to stress is that these films cover the waterfront. They're not afraid to take on any issue. And this year we have films covering every kind of issue, from Black Jewish relationships to LGBT to disability issues, several very hard-hitting ones on Israel-Palestine. And so I'm proud to be associated with an organization that really is, through art and through viewing of films of people together, creating conversations, the hard conversations. So that's what I do. And I'm also a 25-year member of Congregation Bet Havarim, which is how I know Rabbi Lawson and Rabbi Packer-Monroe.
Thank you, Ellen. It's good to see you. It's
Great to see you.
So we're short on time, and so I'm going to ask a few questions, and I'm just going to let whoever wants to pick this up. How will you invest the resources from JEDI Night?
I'll be happy to start.
Thank you.
So, sure. So, JF and CS, we have been going through our own transformation internally and externally. We've recognized as we've had openings that we need to reflect the community that we serve. And so our executive leadership team now does that. We have been very intentional about hiring staff to help us serve that and to reflect the voices. And now we're really looking at our leadership. We have a board of amazing community leaders. And, like a lot of organizations, to be quite honest, we thought diversity meant putting 1 or 2 people on the board and calling ourselves diverse, when that's not really the case. It takes intention. So we are reimagining our leadership development program to really put a pipeline in place to have our leadership, our board of directors reflect the community that we serve.
Thank you. I'll just pick another person. Victoria, how about you? How will your organization invest resources from JEDI Night?
Well, we don't believe representation is quite enough. Right now, Jews of color and other marginalized communities are almost being used for ornamental decoration. And we've got to get past diversity and inclusion being looked at as goals, and more understanding that the true goal is seeing everyone in their humanity and going toward justice. So before you even put people into a dominant community that have come from different representation or different marginalized identities, first you have to prep those communities, because if not, you're going to put someone in a community and it's going to cause harm, and you're not going to be able to retain them there. So what I'd like to do is use the money to train leadership on how to prep your environment to have people that when they do come in, whether they be disabled, Jews of color, LGBTQ, or women, that they can be in there and be supported and be have economic resources and just not be there for decoration. So thank you.
Thank you. I hope I'm saying this right, Shaked. What about your organization?
So first and foremost, our organization, it has kind of an open door policy. We don't ask questions. If you want to come to our event, you're more than welcome. There is no identity needed, or there isn't any need of identifying yourself in a certain way. We welcome everybody. Doesn't matter who you are, how you identify yourself sexually, or what's your affiliation in terms of your Judaism. As long as you're happy to be a part of what we do and agree with us, you're more than welcome. So that's one part of it. I can give you an example. Our Activism Committee, the chair of the committee, it involves, the committee itself has Israelis, Jewish Americans, but we also have a Muslim on the committee, and we have Christian, Catholic on the committee. So, trying to make it really diverse and have them speak out their voices as well in their relations with Israel. And I think that we would want to use those resources in advancing everything that we already do. So thinking more critically about how we can take those JEDI values into our programming, thinking about how we, as an Israeli American community, that it's kind of clustered or closed, be more open-minded and create more events where we can have more diverse crowd, in terms of integration and having the Israeli American community meet and connect with a bigger crowd of the Jewish American community as a whole.
Thank you. Malka, what about Rabbi Malka, what about 18 Doors?
Hi, everyone. So we actually came up with a project several months ago. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a parent of a toddler, and she was saying, I'm noticing that when my toddler looks at the Land's End catalog, she's saying, oh, those are boys' clothes and those are girls' clothes. And she's like, so what kids' book should I be reading with her to teach her about gender? And I was like, well, it's not really about what books you read as much as how do you talk to her about gender all the time in your life. And so that's when I realized, I think a lot of people don't know how to talk about diversity and inclusion in general, especially with their kids. And so we're now partnering with there's actually 5 of us who've come together from the Federation, from Sojourn, and people who are not affiliated with Jewish organizations. We're putting together a 4-part series to talk about diversity and inclusion in the world, in the Jewish community. How do we talk about gender and race and interfaith families. Like, how do we talk about this in our daily lives? So we're going to talk about awareness, language, and bias. We're going to talk about our interconnectedness. What similarities do we all have? We're going to talk about our responsibilities, and we're going to also provide resources. So we're going to provide books for the parents to read with their kids. We're also going to provide books for the parents to read. But we're really going to be talking about, like, how do you talk about skin color when you're at the playground? How do you talk about not assuming someone's gender identity when you see them on the streets? Like, really talking about how do we have these conversations with our kids, starting out young. So parents with kids 0 to 5, and talking about how do we have these really important conversations, and also creating community amongst parents to have these conversations. So it'll be a 4-part series with the goal of these parents coming together and really reaching out, like, hey, I had this weird thing happen with my kid. They saw a kid in a wheelchair and they didn't know how to deal with it. Like, can you help me talk about this? So really learning how to have those uncomfortable, potentially, conversations, and really pushing people to think differently and critically, and to have those important conversations with their own kids.
Thank you. Elana, how would Honeymoon Israel invest the resources?
Thank you. I think going back to something that Victoria pointed out, and I wanted to thank you for what it is that you shared. I think leadership training is really, really at the forefront right now for how do we serve. It's not just about reaching certain communities, but truly seeing them, seeing people for who they are, the stories that they bring, and supporting them, making sure that everybody feels comfortable and seen in a space. We recently did a survey that was sent to all of our alumni network asking, how is Honeymoon Israel doing in the space of diversity, equity, inclusion? What was your experience like? How is your experience continuing? And so now that we have garnered enough responses, that survey is being dissected and studied, and we're going to assess and learn what it is that we can do to better train our team and serve our community.
That's great. Amanda, you're with Jewish Family and Career Services. How would you all invest the resources?
Well, I started the conversation.
I'm sorry. Okay, who hasn't gotten? Did I get everybody that represents an organization? Okay.
I'm not with an organization, but if I could just say 2 things, Rabbi Lawson. First, Elana, I really agree with you about leadership. It is incumbent upon leaders to create organizations and institutions that have psychological safety, that are truly inclusive, where everyone feels welcomed, and that their voice can be shouted from the rooftops. I don't have an answer for you, Rabbi Lawson, about the money and spending, but I would like to just say one word about one of the most pernicious ways I believe that racism and white supremacy maintain themselves is through the hoarding of money in white communities. And that I think, especially in this year of Shemitah, where we're commanded to give back any land that we've acquired in the last 7 years, I think this is a perfect moment to take on and embrace reparations deeply through the values of Judaism, equity, love for one's neighbor. Anyway, stop there.
Jeffrey, thank you. Thank you so much. Ellen, I can bring your voice in too. Would you like to offer some words?
Well, I would just say that I've been taking notes on what Victoria has been talking about, and taking it back to multiple organizations that I'm involved with, because I do feel like there's a tendency just to put someone on a board because of the color of their skin, and you can check that box. And as someone who deals with funders, there's a big pressure, almost, I would say, to do that now. We need to check the African American box, or the disability box, or whatever. And so whatever organization I'm working with, I want to, from the stance that I have as the grant writer, be able to bring that message back. So thank you, Victoria. I appreciate that.
That's great. So we have a few minutes, and I'm concerned about asking a question and then not everyone getting an opportunity to speak. So if someone would like to offer something related to tonight, or some thoughts, please go ahead. Go ahead, Shahid.
So I think for me, and I'll try to be quick about it so others can talk. thinking more critically about what different type of communities do we have, and understanding that these communities, in the end of the day, are structured from individuals. So thinking about the Israel American community, for example, we have Sephardi, we have Ashkenaz, we have Jews of color. You know, there's such a big diverse community within that small community. So understanding that we have that, but we have also a lot of other communities. And I think thinking more critically of how we can engage those small communities into the large Jewish American community in Atlanta.
Thank you. Victoria, go ahead.
I'd also like to say the E in JEDI does not mean equality, it means equity. And there's a misconception that everything is equal. And especially in philanthropy in the Jewish community, only 2% of all philanthropy goes to Jewish women of color organizations that are owned or led. So even if the what we're doing, the programming was equal, because we are at such a deficit, equal would not be enough. Women of color owned and led organizations, we've got to have a different rubric, because we're so down and so far in the hole that if we were given the same equal amount, it really wouldn't even get us up to baseline. So we've also got to address historical philanthropic ways of allocating funds.
Wow, thank you. Even though I'm sitting in my home office in North Carolina, I really feel pretty connected to all of you and your organizations. And I've learned so much through this process of working with Russell and Rabbi Josh. And I'm really looking forward to seeing, what you all do. If, any of you ever want to connect with me, I'm pretty easy to find online. I guess we should head back to where we were before, and we hopefully won't lose anyone.
Thank you, Rabbi Lawson. Great job.
Thank you, Ellen.
Thanks,
All right.
everyone.
Thank
for
you,
being here.
everyone.
Bye.
Nice seeing everyone.
Bye.
Bye.